Bill Maher did a New Rules segment going after what he calls the false equivalency of Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump. So let's see what he has to say, and then we'll break it down.
But she's still a really good quarterback. And speaking of quarterbacks, why does a guy like Colin Kaepernick, who's brave enough to lead a smart protest, say things like, "It almost seems like Hillary and Trump are trying to debate who's less racist. You have to pick the lesser of two evils, but in the end it's still evil." Really? Hillary's evil? You sound like someone on Christian TV. I am so tired of hearing, I know Trump's a creep, but Hillary doesn't seem genuine. Grow the fuck up. She's a civil servant, not a craft beer. You know, whenever I'm out with my millennial friends, chasing the Pokemon or getting our nipples pierced, shaving our pubes, or arranging action figures while sending out dick pics, when the talk turns to the election, I hear some version of, they're both bad, or they deserve each other, or there's an election? Republicans have one path to victory in this election, and it's called false equivalency. They can't deny Trump is horrible. It's on tape. So they want voters to believe Hillary is just as bad. And in pursuit of that goal, they have a very powerful ally: lazy people. People who like to say they're all bad. Because when you say that, you don't have to do any homework. Say they're all the same, and then you can sound justifiably jaded by the entire process when really you just don't know anything. You say you're... You say you're cynical about politics? Don't flatter yourself. Cynical comes when you know too much. You, on the other hand, haven't bothered to learn anything. Which Americans, by the way, are capable of. Noam Chomsky once observed that when he listens to a sports call-in show, he said it's plain that quite a high degree of thought and analysis is going into that. People know all sorts of complicated details. On the other hand, he said, when I hear people talk about international affairs or domestic problems, it's at a level of superficiality that's beyond belief. In other words, we're not clueless. We just apply our brain power to bullshit. It's true. Before people go out for a taco, they will spend an hour on Yelp researching for the most authentic one, all for something that'll be out of your body in 15 minutes. People will use 6 different websites to get a plane ticket for a weekend trip, but they don't care who runs the world for 4 years. I don't get how millennials who can't tell these candidates apart have 100 different subgenres for music that sounds like this.
Okay, so let's break this down. Overall, I think he's 90% dead wrong and 10% right. So first, let me get to the 10% that I think he's right on, and then we'll get to where he's dead wrong. So is there some genuine false equivalence that goes on some issues? I would argue yes. So, and I've engaged in these arguments myself from time to time. Take, for example, the issue of climate change. There is no equivalence between Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump on climate change. Hillary Clinton did the horrific thing of spreading fracking throughout the world when she was Secretary of State. That is certainly a strike against her when it comes to the issue of climate change. However, Donald Trump says he will rip up the Paris Agreement on day one. Hillary Clinton will not do that. She would never do that. She would never dream of doing that. Donald Trump says, I want to remove all of the regulations on coal, all the regulations on the fossil fuel industry. I mean, that's just insanity. That's insanity. And he said he thinks climate change is a Chinese hoax. So as bad as Hillary Clinton is on that issue, the issue of climate change, and I don't think she's good. I mean, if she was good, she wouldn't have pushed fracking around the world. But as bad as she is, she's no Donald Trump. And I have heard some people try to make the argument, nah, it's a wash. No, it's not a wash. It's not a wash. He's way worse. Okay, that's one area where I've seen some genuine false equivalence. On the issue of the Supreme Court, I've seen some people try to do a false equivalence. Like, well, they tried to float the idea. It is true that the Hillary camp tried to float the idea of putting a Texas Republican on the Supreme Court. Horrible idea, grotesque idea. But at the end of the day, Hillary says, I'm going to keep up Merrick Garland. Merrick Garland, the centrist judge. And Donald Trump has said repeatedly, I want to find the next Antonin Scalia to put on the court. Antonin Scalia literally believed the devil was real. He thought blacks belong in slower track schools. He's pro-torture. As much as I dislike Merrick Garland and I dislike his disgusting centrism, I would take Merrick Garland every single second of every single day of the year over the next Antonin Scalia. So Hillary is bad on the Supreme Court. Donald Trump is much, much worse. Hillary would appoint centrist justices. Donald Trump would appoint far-right justices. I wish Hillary would appoint an actual progressive and a liberal. She's not, and she won't. I'm under no illusions. But centrism is preferable to far-right insanity. So there's an area where I've seen some false equivalence. On the issue of regulation, people say, oh, well, they're the same. No, they're not the same on regulation. Donald Trump says eliminate the FDA, eliminate the EPA. Hillary does not say that. Hillary's just better on that. When it comes to immigration, yes, Obama, for example, record number of deportations under him. Terrible. It's grotesque. Hillary Clinton, she may even continue that. And that would be terrible, and that would be grotesque. Donald Trump says, let's get rid of every single undocumented immigrant in the country, over 11 million of them. He says, let's ban all Muslims from coming to the U.S. Even if I grant you, and I may grant you, that Hillary is horrific on this issue, she's way better than Donald Trump who wants to get rid of every single one, every single one, every single one, every single one, every single one. And then also on the issue of taxes, her plan is just way superior, way superior. So he admits, yeah, I want to cut taxes for the rich massively. She cuts taxes for the bottom 80% of the American people, and she raises taxes on the rich. The estate tax goes up massively under her. She raises the top marginal rate. She brings back the Buffett rule, which is the rule that millionaires have to pay a minimum 30% tax. Those are all good. Now, even if she's unable to get that through Congress, and she won't be able to get that through Congress, well, guess what? She keeps the rates the same as Obama's. Now, Donald Trump will not do that. He will not do that. He wants to cut massively, and obviously it looks like the most likely scenario is the Republicans will continue to hold Congress, so he'll be able to get that through. He will be able to cut taxes massively for the rich. There is no equivalence on this issue. Okay, so that's where he's right, that there is some genuine false equivalence that happens from time to time when talking about the two of them. There are areas where Hillary is just better. There just are. There just are, okay? But where Maher is wrong is, and this is what really irks me and why I say he's 90% wrong. Because Donald Trump is Donald Trump, and he's so bad, and he's the Republican, a lot of Democrats think it's legitimate to now just try to pretend like Hillary Clinton is good. What do you mean? She's not bad. What do you mean? This isn't an election between the lesser of two evils. Maher literally said that. He said, stop calling it. He went after Kaepernick for saying it's like a lesser of two evils kind of decision. He went after Kaepernick for saying that. Bill, why are you pretending that she's not evil? I grant you he is more evil, and I could go into even more detail as to why I think that is. But when you try to say she's not evil, you lose all millennials. And most importantly, it is not because the millennials are too lazy to do their homework, as you smugly and arrogantly and condescendingly say to them. It's the exact opposite. They did their fucking homework. That's how they know she's evil. So, God, this gets under my skin because he flipped the truth right on its head. The millennials, who are the most educated about this election, who spend the most time reading about it, who care most about the actual policy substance, the generation that is the generation of the internet where all the information is available at your fingertips and they look it up, he flips it on its head. Oh, it's just because you guys are lazy and you don't do your homework. No, they did their homework. It's not that they know too little about Hillary Clinton. It's that they know too much about Hillary Clinton. So what do I mean? Well, very simply, she voted for the Iraq War. The Iraq War. Okay, the thing that it's a non-starter to Vote for the Iraq War. Remember that in 2008? It was a non-starter. Oh, you voted for the Iraq War? That's nice. You're eliminated. Step aside. That's why President Obama won. A black senator who very few people knew beat the juggernaut Hillary Clinton. Why? One of the main reasons was the Iraq War vote. He said, look, I was against it. You voted for it. You trusted George W. Bush and the neocons. That is insanity. So she voted for the Iraq War. Minimum 100,000 civilians are dead as a result of that. You fucking broke the Middle East. That led to the rise of ISIS. That destabilized the world. So you voted for that, and we're supposed to say, oh, that's cool, it's not evil. It's almost inexcusable. I don't blame people who draw a line just at that. Oh, you voted for the Iraq War? That's nice, step aside. So she voted for the Iraq War. Bill, she voted for the Patriot Act. The Patriot Act, which ripped up the Constitution and took a massive shit on it. You don't have Fourth Amendment rights anymore. You don't have a protection from unreasonable search and seizure. That is gone. That doesn't exist. You don't have a protection from cruel and unusual punishment. Hillary Clinton voted for the Patriot Act, in a bill that took away your constitutional rights. And you want to tell me it's not an election between the lesser of two evils? You can fuck right off, Bill Maher. That's what you can do. Furthermore, she was for all the free trade deals. She was in favor of NAFTA. She lobbied for TPP 45 times before she came out against it because Bernie Sanders pushed her there. And by the way, internal emails released by WikiLeaks show she's not really against it. You know, her best friend, Terry McAuliffe, the Clintons' best friend, has come out and said, yeah, what she'll do is she'll probably change a provision or two and then flip in favor of it. And again, you're to tell me, well, no, this isn't an election between the lesser of two evils. Bill, she supported the deregulation of Wall Street, which led to the crash in 2008. Her husband signed the Gramm-Leach-Bliley Act. That repealed Glass-Steagall. Let me repeat that. Glass-Steagall, which is a top priority of the left and kept the economy together for a very long time. Bill Clinton, the Democratic president, signed the repeal of Glass-Steagall. No, this isn't a lesser of two evils election. Hillary's just good. She's just good, even though she voted for the Iraq War, the Patriot Act, supported the free trade deals, was in favor of deregulating Wall Street, and most importantly, Bill, she's a massive corrupt insider. You can pretend like that's not the case, but you're just pretending. Because we all know it, we see the money. Taking over $600,000 in a speech to Goldman Sachs. Are you kidding me? Oh, no, it's because they wanted to know her position on birth control. That's why. They wanted to hear her talk about birth control for that long. No, they didn't. They were buying favoritism from the government. That's what it is. For if/when she runs and becomes president, well, we want to be able to call you and get a subsidy, get a corporate welfare check, get a special tax loophole, have you turn the other way as we commit more crimes and do more fraud. That is an organization. That is a company that committed fraud and got away with it and is paying Hillary Clinton to give a speech. She's in bed with criminals. That's what that is, Bill. That's what that is. She flipped her vote on single payer because she took money from the health insurance companies. She was in favor of single payer. When she ran for office, she took a tremendous amount of money from the health insurance companies. All of a sudden, she's not in favor of single payer anymore. Look at that. How about the bankruptcy bill? She was against the bankruptcy bill because it biased the bankruptcy laws in favor of corporations. And then when she ran for office and took money from the industry, boom, poof, look at that. All of a sudden, she's in favor of the same bill she was against before. I could keep going all day, Bill. I could keep going all day. So you're not going to pull the wool over the eyes of millennials, okay? And what really frustrates me is people like Bill Maher and his bullshit new rule segment here, it makes it much harder for people to come out and make what I think is the accurate and correct argument of, well, Hillary actually is the lesser of two evils. So, because some people listening right now are going to disagree with me and say, no, I think it's equally evil. No, first of all, when I led this segment, I gave you, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 reasons or so why she is a lesser evil. But that's the point, Bill, is that because you're trying to pretend like it's not a matter of lesser of two evils, and because you're trying to pretend like she's good, now I have to come out here and correct your punk ass. Instead of doing what? Instead of agreeing with your assessment when you say she is the lesser of two evils. If you had done an entire segment about how she's just the lesser of two evils, I'd probably agree with you. And I'm sure you'd make good arguments if that was the argument you were making. But that's not the argument you're making. You're specifically and explicitly rejecting that idea that she's the lesser of two evils, and you're fully embracing the idea that Trump bad, Hillary good. Trump bad, Hillary good. And I'm going to accuse people of not doing their fucking homework when honestly, Bill, it looks like you haven't done your homework. But actually, I don't believe that because I think you know all these things, and I think you're just being disingenuous and covering it up and not talking about it because you got to push the narrative of Hillary being superb and splendid and fantastic and Trump being so evil and so wrong and so terrible. No, Trump is evil, Trump is wrong, Trump is terrible, but Hillary's also evil. She's just a lesser evil, and you refuse to acknowledge the truth.